The air on set shifted, becoming thick with a tension that wasn't a product of the usual pressure of filming. This wasn't a moment of drama for the cameras. It was real, raw, and unfiltered. The crew stood by, unsure of how to respond. The weight of the situation seemed to press on everyone's shoulders. What they witnessed was not the kind of emotional exposure they were accustomed to seeing from a seasoned actor like Depp, who had always managed to maintain a veneer of control, even in the most intense moments of his performances. It was a side of him rarely seen by the public, and certainly not by those who only knew him through the roles he played or the tabloid headlines that often dominated his personal life. As the scene unraveled, Depp's face contorted in ways that weren't. In the script, his usually calm demeanor was replaced by an almost unrecognizable vulnerability. His breath came in short, jagged gasps, and his chest heaved with the weight of emotions he could no longer keep at bay. It was as though every moment of his troubled past had come rushing to the forefront, demanding acknowledgement. The grief, the regret, the loss. It all surfaced in a way that could not be contained by the walls of the soundstage. His hands, usually so steady, trembled uncontrollably, betraying a depth of pain that the words on the page could never convey. For those around him, the sight was both haunting and humbling. Some cast members, familiar with the pressures of Hollywood, but never having witnessed this kind of breakdown, quietly withdrew, giving Depp the space to process the flood of emotions. The director, typically assertive and in control of the set, was momentarily at a loss. He realized that he couldn't direct this moment. It was too personal, too intimate for anyone to try to shape. There was no script for this kind of truth. Depp's sudden departure from the set didn't come with the dramatic flair that might have been expected from an actor known for his intensity. It wasn't a grand exit. It was a quiet, almost defeated retreat. As he sat by himself, the world outside seemed to fade away. His shoulders sagged under the weight of emotions he had tried so hard to bury for years. The makeup of his star, persona, charming, quirky, enigmatic, seemed to melt away in that moment, leaving a man confronting his inner demons. His cryptic words, "It just came back. I wasn't ready for it," spoke volumes of the depth of his struggle. In those few moments, Johnny Depp wasn't just an actor playing a role. He was a man lost in the echoes of his own past, unable to outrun the trauma that had followed him for so long. The crew, who had witnessed the unspoken breaking point of an icon, continued filming the rest of the day, but the atmosphere was forever altered. The line between art and life had blurred. For Depp, the incident marked an unexpected confrontation with his own history, one that he hadn't anticipated or planned for. It was a painful reminder that no matter how much a person might bury their past, sometimes it has a way of surfacing when least expected, especially in moments of vulnerability. The experience left everyone involved with an unsettling sense of shared humanity, the realization that despite fame, wealth, and success, no one is immune to the weight of their own history. What exactly had resurfaced in that moment was a blend of deep-rooted emotions and unresolved trauma, much of which had been suppressed for years. Depp's personal life, for those who had followed it closely, has been marked by more than just his public divorces or court battles. His childhood was steeped in instability. Raised in a home where emotional volatility was the norm, Depp's relationship with his mother in particular had always been complex. He often spoke about her struggles with mental health, which left him navigating a world of uncertainty and hurt from a young age. Growing up in such an environment had a profound effect on him, shaping his emotional landscape. His understanding of love, trust, and self-worth was often tainted by these early experiences. It was these formative years, filled with constant upheaval, that seemed to haunt him in that moment on set. Adding to the weight of his past were the more recent events that had brought him back into the public eye for all the wrong reasons. The highly publicized legal battles with his ex-wife, Amber Heard, had played out under the harsh glare of media scrutiny. Every testimony, every piece of evidence was dissected, and every personal moment was turned into a spectacle. But what wasn't always visible in those proceedings was the deeper emotional toll it took on Depp. His private pain, the sense of betrayal, the feeling of being misunderstood. Those were things that couldn't be captured in a courtroom or a headline. It was this quieter, more intimate suffering that seemed to be triggered during his breakdown on set. The scene he was filming acted as an unwitting catalyst, bringing to the surface the emotions he had buried under years of fame and the walls he had built around himself. The irony of playing a character struggling with self-destruction and redemption wasn't lost on Depp. The character's pain mirrored his own in ways that went beyond the surface. Perhaps he had been too confident in his ability to separate the role from his reality, too eager to use the script as a shield. But in doing so, he had underestimated just how deeply the performance would resonate with him. What was supposed to be cathartic, an emotional release through acting, turned into an unplanned and raw confrontation with his own unresolved grief. After the breakdown, the production team wisely allowed Depp the space to process what had transpired. The set was quiet for days, the crew unsure of what might come next. Some wondered if the film would continue, or if Depp's emotional state would require a longer break, but when he returned, it was clear that something had shifted within him. While he was composed, there was a new depth to his presence. He was more grounded, and while his usual eccentricities remained, there was a subtle shift in how he interacted with those around him. His interactions with the cast and crew took on a new weight, as if they were witnessing a more authentic version of Depp, a man who had peeled back the layers of his carefully constructed persona, even if just for a moment. The transformation was palpable to everyone on set. Co-stars who had worked with him for years noted a change, commenting on how different he seemed. The vulnerability that had previously only been hinted at through his performances was now fully visible in his eyes. One actor who had been close to Depp during the entire process remarked, "It felt like he was finally letting us see the person he's always kept hidden." In an industry where many actors are known for their larger-than-life personas, Depp's willingness to let his true self show in such an intimate and powerful way was unexpected. It left an indelible mark on those who witnessed it. It was a raw, unpolished moment that reminded everyone on set that no matter how far an actor may go in playing a role, the human behind the character is always there, waiting to resurface. The incident has sparked widespread conversations, extending far beyond the film set and into the realms of fan communities, mental health advocates, and industry insiders. On social media, fans have rallied around Depp, praising his emotional openness in a culture that often celebrates the suppression of vulnerability. Many saw his breakdown as a courageous confrontation with personal trauma, something all too rare in a world where public figures are often expected to maintain an image of constant perfection and invulnerability. The rawness of the moment shattered the polished, almost untouchable persona that Depp has spent decades cultivating, showing his audience that even the most enigmatic figures are, at their core, just human. For some, this vulnerability was seen as an act of bravery, a rare glimpse into the unseen struggles that many carry, whether they are in the public eye or not. It was a reminder that behind the fame, the millions, and the accolades, there is still a person grappling with pain, memory, and identity. Depp's willingness to allow this moment of raw emotion to unfold in front of the cameras, whether he intended to or not, was a stark departure from the way many celebrities manage their personal pain. His openness has resonated with people who see him not just as a famous actor, but as a fellow human navigating a turbulent existence. For some, it felt like an invitation to reckon with their own emotional wounds in a society that tends to avoid such discomfort. However, not everyone viewed the incident with such admiration. Some mental health advocates, while acknowledging Depp's emotional breakthrough, expressed concern over the emotional extremes to which the film industry sometimes pushes its actors. The demands placed on actors, especially those like Depp, who often immerse themselves deeply in their roles, can sometimes blur the lines between art and life in ways that are difficult to navigate. Method acting, while lauded for its ability to create authentic performances, can come at a personal cost when the actor becomes too enmeshed in the character's emotions. The lines between the role and the actor can become so porous that it becomes impossible to discern where one ends and the other begins. For Depp, that moment on set seemed to illustrate the perils of that emotional entanglement, where the pain of the character, rooted in betrayal, loss, and self-destruction, became a mirror for the real-life struggles he had never fully addressed. While Depp has not publicly discussed the breakdown in any depth, those close to him have reported a noticeable shift in his behavior since the incident. He's become more introspective, spending more time journaling and engaging in private conversations about his emotional well-being. This increased self-reflection marks a significant change for someone who has long kept his personal life under wraps. Depp has never been one to openly dissect his pain in public forums, preferring to maintain an air of mystery around his inner world. But in the wake of his emotional unraveling on set, he appears to be reconsidering his approach to life, fame, and the roles he takes on. Those who know him well have suggested that the breakdown may not have been a sign of weakness, but rather a turning point, a cathartic release of years of pent-up emotion. In some ways it was a personal reckoning, a moment where the weight of his past collided with the demands of his present, and it forced him to face aspects of himself he had long kept buried. Interestingly, the scene that sparked Depp's breakdown is now at the center of a debate among the production team. Some members argue that the raw footage, with all its unpolished emotion, should be included in the final cut, as it encapsulates a truth about the character and the actor alike. It's the kind of moment that transcends performance and enters the realm of pure, unadulterated human experience. Others, however, believe that the footage may be too personal, too intrusive, a reminder of the fragility of the human soul that may not belong on the screen. The tension between these two perspectives highlights the challenge of portraying vulnerability in a world that often equates strength with stoicism. If the scene is included, it will forever be a testament to the power of unfiltered emotion, a rare moment of clarity in a medium that often favors illusion over reality. No matter how it is ultimately used, it will always carry the weight of that truth, that sometimes the most powerful moments are the ones that happen when the cameras stop rolling and the actor is no longer playing a role. What makes this moment so significant is not just its impact on Depp as an individual, but also its resonance with the broader public. In a time when social media is flooded with curated glimpses of people's lives, where the boundary between reality and fantasy is increasingly blurred, it's easy to forget that behind every image, every tweet, and every perfect Instagram post, there is a person with a complex inner world. Depp's breakdown served as a stark reminder of the emotional labor that goes into creating art, especially when that art is so deeply personal. His vulnerability, while painful to witness, became a shared experience for many who saw themselves reflected in his struggles. Fans on social media have shared their own stories of breaking down, of facing their pasts, and of trying to heal. These exchanges created a community of empathy, where the performance of one man became the catalyst for others to confront their own emotional landscapes. For Depp, the breakdown may have been a painful moment of weakness, a crack in the carefully constructed persona he has spent decades building. But for his fans and supporters, it was perhaps one of his most honest performances. In that moment, Depp was not just an actor portraying a character, he was a man facing the weight of his own history, his own wounds, and his own humanity. It was a raw, unfiltered moment that transcended the role he was playing, offering a glimpse into the soul of a man who has long been hidden behind the masks of celebrity. The impact of that moment, whether the footage ever makes it to the final cut or not, has already left a lasting impression. It stirred conversations about trauma, healing, and the emotional costs of fame. For Depp, it may have been a turning point in how he approaches his work and his life. For the world watching, it was a reminder that beneath the glitz and glamour of Hollywood, there are real people, grappling with real pain, and sometimes those moments of raw honesty can be the most powerful of all.